Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavali. On today's show, we will review all of the weekend Serie A action from match day 4. The Rome derby, of course, Roma taking the derby honours with a goal from Lorenzo Pellegrini. That's why I'm wearing this Roma shirt today. Apologies to all the Lazio fans. I'm not a Roma fan. I just love this shirt, so it's an opportunity to wear this shirt. It's an absolute beauty. Lazio, though, of course, shocking start to the season for them. It's really not looking good. So we'll discuss that, of course, as well. Juventus's 100% record comes to an end among fury with the referees, but also a dreadful performance against Verona in probably what shows where Juventus's Scudetto hopes lie. So we'll discuss about both of those things. Inter have a good week in recovery. They beat Sassuolo 2-1 after beating Ajax in midweek. Atalanta also recover from their thrashing to PSG by thrashing Torino themselves 3-0. And Como stun Fiorentina while Bologna defeat Genoa. And then, of course, there is Milan, who won really impressively against Udinese and build up fantastically for that big game this weekend against Napoli. Are Milan the Anti-Napoli in the Scudetto race? We'll talk about that ahead of that game against Napoli. If you want to support, though, the Italian Football Podcast, receive all of our content that we do throughout the week without any ads, including our free Monday review show, our weekly Q&A episode, where we answer all the questions from our patrons, plus Thursday midweek review show, which we do for midweek action, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/CIFP, become a subscriber for just $3.99 a month. You can also watch our free episodes and shorter clips on YouTube. You can become a patron on YouTube memberships. Go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@itafootpod for more details. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify and whichever platform you consume us on, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, YouTube. We'd really appreciate if you give us a follow, give us a subscription. If you can like us or give us a 5-star rating, do that as it really helps us to grow. And if you don't already, do follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And if you want to buy tickets for a Serie A match, but don't know how, well, Live Football Tickets is the best place to find Serie A tickets. Tickets are often available for as little as £25, sometimes even less. Buy-in from livefootballtickets.com is totally secure, and they even offer a 150% refund guarantee on ticket authenticity. So if you want to watch Juventus or Inter or Milan or Napoli, or if you want to join Nima in a Pisa versus Lecce relegation dogfight, as those are his favourite games, then
Parma this weekend, to be honest.
Yes, or that. Then Live Football Tickets is for you. To buy tickets, this is the important bit, to any Serie A match, follow the link in the description of this episode. Okay, let's get into today's show. So, of course, the Rome derby, Sunday, early kickoff, 12:30 CET, which was it was played early to avoid any hooliganism and drinking and well, no, maybe not that. That it would be if that was in England, but not in Italy. But for Lazio fans, it was Roma who took the honours. They win 1-0. So we'll talk about this from a Roma point of view, and then we'll get stuck into what is becoming a really horrible situation at Lazio now. Lorenzo Pellegrini, surprise starter, scores the winner. It is the story that you knew it was going to happen as soon as you saw that he was playing. Roma tried to sell him in the summer. We know that he's not a Gasperini player. He's not in the plans of Gasperini. His contract expires at the end of the season. The Roman player, though, plays and scores the winner. I mean, it was written, wasn't it?
It was written in the stars, and I think this derby is very special for that very reason, that you love it when the local boys have a protagonist role in this derby, regardless of if it's Lazio or Roma. He is a Romanista through and through. He's, used to be the club captain. I'm not, I don't think he's been stripped of it, but he's not part of the plans. They've tried to sell him. But yeah, it was beautiful that he scored that. But we have to talk about that mistake by Nuno Tavares. It was such a tight game. And that the reason why Roma win this game is simply because of that individual error. Other than that, there wasn't really that much. It was I think a draw based on how it looked would have been the most fair result.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, no, Roma win. Gasperini continues to grind out results.
I was going to say that, Nima. It's been a un-Gasperini start in the sense that all the wins have been really tight. Like you said, grinding them out, not creating loads in their games, and which is it's a side we've never seen from Gasperini in his career.
No, we haven't. Right. It's funny because he's always been this kind of attacking ideologue, and he's always been kind of this, you play this way and you have this identity, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose, but it's about wanting to do something overall. And now he's gone kind of almost, pragmatic and turned into like Mourinho or Allegri.
I think that's because he looks at his team and his squad and he realizes, well, I haven't got enough of the type of players I need to play my type of football, so I'm going to have to adapt a bit. And that's why it's happened.
I think there's an element to that. Yeah, I think there's that's a sign of maturity, I think. I think we've seen it with Conte as well, to a much larger extent. The pragmatism that, yes, you can still have an identity, you can still have an ideology, but you also have to be a realist. And I think that when coaches reach that point of their careers, I think that's when they're at their absolute best. When they're not stubborn and when they're much more calm in their approach and much more mature. And I think Gasperini at Roma, listen, I think we're seeing something really interesting here. I think Roma, maybe not this season, but if they continue down this path, if they get into the Champions League, if they bring in more players that he wants and he's allowed to build, if there's for once in this piazza a bit of calm and they actually give him time, I think within two, 3 seasons, Roma could be challenging for the Scudetto, because if you look at their competition, if you look at Milan, if you look at Napoli, if you look at Inter, Juve, no one is in a position to really, maybe Napoli is being the exception to the rule here, but no one's in a position to really, really push forward and dominate. And that means that
it's not possible to do that in Italian football now.
Well, exactly. Well, exactly. As long as Conte's there, I think Napoli will always be a contender by virtue of him. But if we look at qualitatively on the squads, like you said, there's no financial possibility for anyone to dominate like Juventus did 9 years in a row. It's just not there. And so there is an opening here. And I think Gasperini understands that. And I hope that Roma and their ownership and the leadership there understand that. And that they, calm their Roman hot heads. But as long as, nothing forgives in Rome as much as a win in the derby, and equally nothing is as ruthlessly unforgiving as a loss in the derby.
Well, that brings us nicely on to Lazio, because we'll talk about their overall season, starts the season in a minute first, but they lose this game, and like you said, this is the worst thing that could happen in Rome for either Roma or Lazio, to lose the derby. And it's I think they deserved a draw. Obviously, the goal came from a mistake, but also, Dia misses that one-on-one. You got to put that chance away. Terrible finish, but they're also unlucky, I think, as well. The post from Cataldi at the end, I think they had more than enough to definitely deserve a draw in this game. So there's a little bit of bad fortune, but this defeat and some of the aspects of this defeat, they highlight really perfectly the situation at Lazio, which started in the summer with the transfer ban. They couldn't bring anyone in. So going into the season, already the enthusiasm, which should have been high because of Maurizio Sarri's return, that is already sucked out of the team. And now they start the season with 3 defeats in 4 games, and the latest of those defeats is in the Rome derby. And then you add to that, they get 2 red cards in this game, both for ill discipline. One for a terrible stud to the back from Belayan, and then obviously Guendouzi just stupidly and now gets himself suspended in injury time. And then you see Nuno Tavares and Zaccagni arguing as well over the goal, and it's just, where do they go? What happens with Lazio now? It just feels like, I said it last week or the week before, it just feels like this is a dead season for them already.
Look, it's, the argument, the classic Italian argument, reheated minestrone is never good. I just don't feel that we're in a position to say that about Sarri. Whether it's true or not is kind of, I can't make that argument because of the fact that they didn't have a mercato, and Lotito doesn't seem to give a damn. Very, very bluntly, doesn't seem to give a damn. 0 F's given. And it's, so what is he supposed to do? I remember when we had Alfredo Pedola on the show, he said people in Italy arguing that, having the same team as a strength are talking nonsense, because there's a reason you have a transfer window to strengthen, and bringing players that work with the coach as a system coach like Sarri it's just...
The only time that works, just to come in on that point, the only time that works, and Cesc Fabregas was speaking about this, it's quite interesting. The only time that works is when you have a club that has, a really good kind of youth system that produces some good youth players, and having a transfer ban or inability to sign players allows you to actually then give those players a chance. And we've seen some examples of, like, Barcelona, for example. That's the example Fabregas said. He said everybody talks about Barcelona having this amazing youth, all these incredible youth players coming through again, as they are now, like Yamal, you're like Fermin Lopez, and all the others that are coming through. They were forced into it because they've had no money. That's the only reason they've given these players a chance. Otherwise, they wouldn't. And we've seen that. We have seen that at some other clubs as well. I think he used the example of Chelsea when Lampard was there. Although Lampard got sacked and Chelsea didn't do particularly well with Lampard, that they gave all those players a chance, and then they ended up becoming players. That's not going to happen with Lazio. It won't happen at most Italian teams because they're not producing these players. There's a problem further down the line, which we've spoken about with youth development and the youth, the passageway to get to senior football. But that's not going to happen with Lazio. Lazio don't have youth. They haven't got youth players. They generally never really produced too many top youth players, have they? Over the years, they don't have a great record.
No.
Yeah. So
no,
it's a disaster.
Suppose,
You don't have a mercato. It's a disaster for a club like Lazio.
Well, it is, and it's accentuated even further by, I think, Lotito's complete just disregard for this situation. And I've been somewhat more nuanced about Lotito. I think that if you look at his tenure as a whole, what he took over, what he was handed, didn't really want to take over Lazio, but was kind of not forced, but encouraged to do so. Come on, this is a situation. And then he started enjoying it because it gave him political capital and social currency to spend. And now he's a senator. But now, and he's done really well. I mean, if you look at his tenure overall, where Lazio were and what they've done in terms of titles, Champions Leagues, and so on, I just don't think that he can take this any further. And it doesn't feel like he's interested in it either, because he's reached where he wants to politically in his other career as a politician and so on. And I really hope for Lazio's sake that he sells the club. I mean, they are financially solvent. The issue isn't that they're making losses or anything like that. It's a liquidity issue, and that is easily handled by someone who is more strong in terms of capital. But it's very, very simple that way. And I think it would be better for Lazio and the Serie A if he sold the club, to be honest. Really think so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mess, isn't it?
I feel bad for Sarri. I really do. I
Yeah.
really feel bad for Maurizio Sarri. I feel it's unfair because, like, he walked into this. He didn't know what he was walking into. Then he's too much of a honorable man to kind of walk out. Most people would have walked out, like Bielsa did.
He would have had every right to walk out.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Well, they've got Genoa and Torino next, so those are really they've got to try and win those two games. Otherwise, then they have Atalanta, then they have Juventus and Inter not long after that, at the beginning of November. Then, because all of a sudden this season could become a total disaster. It's still early; it can still recover, but it's worrying. It is worrying. Let's move on to Inter though, who did recover after being in. After coming off 2 defeats in a row, they've had a good week. They beat Ajax. We've already done a post-match reaction on that in our midweek show for patrons only last week, and they win 2-1 against Sassuolo. I only watched the last half an hour of this game because I was at an Italian festival yesterday with the cake shop. We were at Peterborough Italian Festival. There was lots of Italians, and there was I actually met the famous dancer Giovanni Peniche, who is actually an Inter fan, by the way. So that's a little interesting note. I asked him, "Who do you support?" He says, "Yeah, I'm a big Inter fan." So and I said to him, he says he wants to come to the podcast, so maybe we'll get on the podcast talking about Inter. Anyway, so Inter. So I only watched the last half an hour. So you're gonna have to tell us all about this game, Nima.
It was a game that Inter dominated from the get-go. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it was an Inter that had the right approach tactically, had the right attitude. The game plan was right. They approached it in the right way. They created lots of chances from open play, something we've been very critical of that they don't do, but they did in this game. And they scored from from open play twice. They were much more. It was kind of a rinse and repeat of Ajax, just better going forward, and better defensively. A couple of players I want to talk about before we talk about the player that I think is the one that we're going to do a profile deep dive on. But Hakan Çalhanoğlu in this new system in the attacking phase is just brilliant. These last few games, he's been absolutely outstanding. The way he controls and dictates the tempo is moving forward is really impressive. These fantastic diagonal balls, these spaces he finds, the work, the understanding with Sucic and Barella is brilliant. Petar Sucic was sublime. He was just absolutely sublime. His interpretation of the midfield role as a mezzala, the distance he covers, his IQ, and even defensively, really, really solid. There are issues still defensively. Inter still are a little bit hollow down the middle, but it's improving. It's really improving. Whether that is down to Ajax and Sassuolo not being good enough, or whether or not that will be ruthlessly exposed against a better side. I mean, right? I don't know. That's impossible to say. But there are still holes there. We have to acknowledge that. Just equally, we also have to acknowledge that it's looking better. It's landing. Everything is landing, and I have to say, I really like how Kivu has handled the post Juventus situation in terms of interpreting games. The Ajax game and the Sassuolo game was prepared, handled, managed in game really, really well. His substitutions have been at the right time. The right players have come on at the right time. The team responds to him, at least it seems from the outside, in a good way. There are still issues there, of course, but it's looking better. It's still looking better, and I think, if Inter are going to have a season where they're not going to compete for the Scudetto, which I don't think they will, but where they're going to instead allow new players to be worked into this team, like Luis Henrique, who had a really good cameo or substitution, looked really good in both phases, if we're honest. And Petar Sucic, and above all, Francesco Pio Esposito. I mean, pure mania.
We'll talk about Pio in just a minute. Just a couple of
course, Josep Martinez, of course, who made a brilliant save on Pinamonti's header. I mean, that was a goal. And
that was just going to be that was all I was going to say. I had a couple of remarks I wanted to make from what I saw at the last half an hour. Amazing save from Martinez. I thought as soon as he headed it, I thought 100% goal. So magnificent save. Should he stay as the number one? What do you think?
I think it's clear that Inter are moving towards that. I think he's not saying that.
It's a gradual kind
exactly. I think it's been very clear. He said, I've been clear with both of them as to what the situation is, which to me is just about as clear as you can get.
So do you think by the new year, Martinez might be the number one?
No, I think it's going to be a gradual process on par with what Inzaghi did when Onana and Handanovic situation happened. I think it's going to be a gradual through the season, more and more bring Martinez on and more kind of phase Jan Sommer out. And because he's not getting any younger, he has peaked, he's on a decline. If he wants to stay at Inter, he will have to accept what we can say is the Toldo role. You have to, when Giulio Cesar took over from Toldo, gradually Toldo became the backup goalkeeper. And that's, if Sommer wants to stay at Inter, then that's what he has to accept. And I think that's the right move to do. I mean, it's not just about Sommer. You can say the same with Luis Henrique coming in, with Petar Sucic, with Esposito, and so on. This is an Inter that is slowly undergoing a change, and I think it's a risk to do these things, but it's a risk that you have to take.
Yeah. Luis Henrique did a couple of nice moves down the right. He did one
both
fantastic. He beat the same guy twice. He beat him one way, then decided I'll just take him on again and did it again. I enjoyed that. The only other thing I wanted to say before we talk about Pio is Berardi. It was only half an hour, but honestly, watching Berardi in that last half an hour was like watching Berardi from, I don't know, 5 years ago when Patrick Kendrick was I don't want to say what he was doing, but the guy absolutely loves Berardi. And great assist. And he must have done at least maybe 2, maybe 3 nutmegs. And
on Barella as well.
He had an amazing long shot from outside the area, and he did some incredible passes. Like, honestly, it was a joy watching Berardi. Just for that half an hour, I absolutely loved him. So it's really great because he had that bad injury, and he's not really been the same player from what I've seen, and not in Serie A this season so far. He's been a bit slow this season. He was absolutely outstanding, like absolutely brilliant. So if he carries on like this, with Pinamonti, will probably get you a number of goals, and obviously got Matic with the experience of Matic in midfield, and I think the defense looks a little bit stronger now as well. I think I was a little bit worried by Sassuolo at the start of the season, but now seeing them, the work they did at the end of the transfer window, I think they'll be fine, actually. Now.
Yeah, I mean, I look at them as a team like 13, 12, 13, 14, 11, somewhere there. It's not, I don't see them in a relegation battle at all.
Yeah. Okay, right. Let's talk about now Francesco Pio Esposito. Let's do a profile on him, because we have a lot of people asking about him, all about him, like his qualities, his background, just how good he could become. So seeing as Nima is his biggest fanboy, we thought we'd get Nima to do a profile on Francesco Pio Esposito. So who is Francesco Pio Esposito, Nima?
Well, he was born on the 28th of June in 2005 in Castellammare di Stabia, just outside of Naples. So he just turned 20. He's the younger brother of Salvatore and Sebastiano. He joined Brescia with his brothers at the age of 6. He moved to Inter with his brothers in 2014 when he was at the age of 9. And he's played for all of Inter's kid and youth teams all the way up to the first team. He started his career as a trequartista. He's 191 centimeters tall now. He weighs 81 kilograms now, of which 10 to 12 kilograms is just a muscle increase in the last 12 months at Spezia in Serie B alone, which is where he had his breakthrough last season, something that listeners of this podcast will know, as I was raving lyrically about him all last season. He also played 3 out of 5 matches at Italy under-19 team that won the Euros in 2023. And speaking about Spezia, ahead of that 23-24 season, after the Euros, he featured, he moved to Spezia on loan. He featured 38 matches, scoring 3 goals. He was actually named after that season the best player of the Serie B in the Gran Gala del Calcio, or the Calcio Oscars, as it's known locally and colloquially. Then the loan was extended, and last season he exploded. He scored 19 goals in all comps for Spezia, especially after putting on those 10, 12 kilos of muscles. When after the season had started, losing absolutely none of his speed, none of his movement and dynamism. He just made him stronger and almost impossible to stop, especially with his back to goal, holding off defenders. He signed a contract extension with Inter in April of earlier this year in 2025. It sees him tied to the club until the end of June 2030. And he's earning around 1 million net per season. One thing that I think is so interesting with him is that he doesn't give up many offensive fouls, but he draws many fouls. He forces players to drag him down. He creates space for himself and others. He is a lethal finisher. He's a classic Italian prima punta, but just very, very dynamic. I mean, he ran the most out of all Inter players in the win against Ajax, 11.57 kilometers. I think as to his potential, the sky's the limit given the trajectory he's on. Or as his brother Salvatore said of them growing up and playing together, that they always say that the youngest is always the best one. This last summer, Napoli and Conte wanted him, offering 35 million in euros in May, but Inter and Kiev refused it, as reported by good friend of the show, Alfredo Pedula, who added that also Man United wanted him last January, as did Atalanta this last summer when Inter came knocking for Lookman. Christian Chivo acknowledging that he has known him since he was 9 years old and branding him a real man, or an uomo vero, after the Ajax win. Look, as for comparisons, personally, I hate making comparisons to other players, especially after that stupid journalist in England misquoted and misrepresented what I said about Casadei to Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea. But based on what others have said,
remind us on that.
We did a profile on Casadei when he joined Chelsea, and I said that he has characteristics that are reminiscent of Frank Lampard, and this stupid woman went and told Thomas Tuchel and said, in Italy they say he's the new Lampard, which pissed me off to no end.
What did Tuchel say?
Well, he started laughing and said, maybe we should just calm down and give the kid some chance. But anyway.
Who was that woman?
I don't know. I don't care. I saw the video and it pissed me off. But regardless, moving on from that stupid comment, based on what others have said, namely Balzaretti and Stramaccioni, they've branded him as being very similar to Luca Toni, especially Luca Toni at Palermo. Serie A commentator Trevisani calls him a mix of Luca Toni and Edin Dzeko. His agent and Zvonimir Boban, Milan legend, draw comparisons with Dzeko. And he himself says he's very inspired by Edin Dzeko, but that Luca Toni was his boyhood idol. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this talking point of new Messi, new Ronaldo, this, new that. I think he has traits that are reminiscent of Toni, Dzeko, and Vieri. In my opinion, the goal that best showcases this and his talent and potential and ability is the goal he scored in the Club World Cup, or the assists that never were, for both Çalhanoğlu and Thuram against neither of those plays ending with a goal, although the Chala shot led to a corner, which Thuram scored the second goal. Both of those against Ajax in the Champions League this last week. But power, strength, killer instinct, dynamism, hold up and link up. He's a complete striker in terms of his character, in terms of the characteristics he possesses. Now he just has to do it week in, week out, and be able to mentally handle being benched, as he inevitably will be at Inter, given the fierce competition that Inter have in attack. But his mentality and maturity have so far been very, very impressive. And if he continues down this path, and if he can stay injury-free, then in the not-so-distant future, it is highly likely, if he continues like this, that we are talking about the next starter, not just for Italy, but also for Inter. And in that, in a role that has been much maligned for the Azzurri, namely the number 9 role, and perhaps for the next decade.
Yeah, I think, you know who he reminds me of, actually? He reminds me, I like the Dzeko comparison. He reminds me of a very young Harry Kane. Harry Kane before he exploded. Harry Kane when he was just starting with Tottenham, and he went on a few loan spells, and I just like the way that, I like just his build as well. He's same similar kind of height, but the way that he's comfortable coming deep for the ball, protecting it, playing up, bringing others in. But you can see that he's got that killer instinct, and you can see that he can shoot both feet. He's going to score. You can see that once he has that breakthrough and he gets that first goal, if he's playing regularly, which obviously is difficult because he's got Thuram and Lautaro, but once he scores and gets some regular time, you can see that the goals are going to flow. You can see that in him, and
you really can. And if you saw that game against Sassuolo, I mean, so many finishes that he just out of nothing, and the fact that he is the player he is, he works well with both Lautaro and Thuram, and Boni and the rest. So he gives Inter an attacking option that they absolutely have not had. For a very long time, since Lukaku, the first Lukaku under Conte. That is something that Inter will find very useful. And I have to say again, as I tweeted out yesterday, is it a risk to build around a 20 and 21-year-old with only previous experience in the Serie B and the Croatian league? Yes. Is it worth that risk? Absolutely. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It could fail. He could be injured. Hopefully not. God willing. Football, God's willing. But I think Sucic and Esposito are the future, and Inter have to build around them. It really is that simple. I really think the talent they have, the qualities they have, it is right to ease them in and to play them like Kivu has done. Don't play them 3 times a week and burn them out, but ease them in. Maybe in lesser games like Ajax, like Sassuolo, to build up their confidence, make them feel more comfortable. Ease them in. They need to be nurtured because
would you play him for Italy now?
They are 2 diamonds in the rough. There is no doubt. Would you
play Esposito straight away for Italy, like in these games coming up in October, November?
Well, I mean, okay, well, it depends.
Put it this way: considering the fact that, like, we know that Israel are about to get banned from football, so there's.
Well, I'm not. I wouldn't hold my breath, but okay.
Well, it seems that way from what we're hearing. Italy will. The point I'm making is Italy 100% going to, even if you do hold your breath or don't hold your breath, Italy is still going to be in the playoffs. So should we just give players like Esposito a chance for Italy now, or is that? I mean, I think he can handle the pressure. He seems like a level-headed guy. He seems like someone that if you put him straight in the Italy team now, it's not going to backfire like maybe it has in some other players like Santon or players like that, where they were given too much before they were maybe mentally ready for it.
No, I think mentally he's strong enough, but I just don't want to burn him out. I don't want to overload him. I want to give him and Sucic the chance to ease into Inter and to the Italy national side. I think he should definitely be in the squad, in the Italy squad. There's no doubt about that. But with Retegui doing what he's doing for Italy and what he's doing also in Saudi, you have to give Retegui the nod. Then how you ease him and get him into the system. And I want them to nurture him. This is potentially a huge player. Finally, a world-class number 9, potentially, for Italy and Inter. And so this needs to be, he needs to be nurtured. And one thing he does do is you can play a 3-4-2-1 with him. In games where Inter are chasing a goal, it is now very Lautaro Thuram behind him with Sucic Barella or Sucic Çalhanoğlu as a double pivot. That is now a very clear option.
He's tactically quite flexible, isn't he? He looks like the kind of guy that you can play him as the 1, whether that be a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, whether you want to play him in a 2. And if you do play him in a 2, he seems like the kind of guy who is quite adaptable with regards to who he plays with. So whether you play him next to a number 9, he can play next to him because he's actually capable of coming a little bit deeper. Or you can play him as the number 9 and play him next to a more support striker type of player 100%. And let him be the front end. And that's really important for any manager to have that player where you know that he's adaptable. And I'll give the comparison. We're going to talk about Juventus. Like with Juventus at the moment, Juventus have three number 9s, let's say, at the moment, in Vlahovic, Openda, and Jonathan David. Now, if Juventus, whether they're playing a front 2 or they're playing a 2-1, I have doubts at the moment whether any of those players can really coexist together in the same team because of their attributes, because of the kind of... And that's a huge problem for Juventus because they've gone out and bought 2 strikers and they already still have Vlahovic and they can only play one of them at one time to really make it tactically work. I might end up being proven wrong, but that's from what I'm seeing so far. I have question marks whether these 3 players, 2 of them can play together. Now, when you've got someone like Esposito, who can basically play with any other striker or attacker, it becomes a huge weapon. And it's very, very important to have those kind of players in your as part of your attack. Yeah. So I think that also is why I think...
Yeah, exactly. But he is a diamond in the rough, and we have to remember that, just like Petar Sucic is. And I think we have to remember that. We need to give them time. We need to give them time to make mistakes, to learn from them, to ease them in. And I really like how he's been managed so far by Christian Kibu. That I have to say. He's been very good at handling both of these 2 players.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say about this is, I think I might have told this story before, but it's just one of my favorite stories of history. The history behind the name Esposito. Now, Esposito is a Neapolitan name. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's the most popular name in Naples or in Campania. And the reason why Esposito is so popular is because this name was given to all orphan children throughout, over the centuries. If you were an orphan kid, you were given the name Esposito. I think Esposito, it comes from the word espositi, which means kind of abandoned or exposed. So if you were an orphan child, you had no parents, or you were abandoned, you went into an orphanage, you were given the name Esposito. So obviously over history, over the years, there's been so many people in Naples or there's been lots of kids who were in orphans. They were given the name Esposito. So that's why I know. The reason I know that is because our cleaner at the cake shop, La Rondine, her name's Ida. She's from Naples. She's Esposito, Ida Esposito. So she told us the history. She goes, that's where my name comes from. Someone in my family, before was an orphan, and they obviously went on to have families, and so yeah, that will be the same with Esposito. I think it's a great story. I love that story.
Yeah, I like that too. It's interesting, etymology and names and origin of words.
Yeah. Anyway, I mentioned Juventus there briefly, so let's talk about the Verona-Juventus game. Now, there's 2 big things to talk about, and the first is I want to get the referee stuff out of the way, because then I want to really hammer into Juventus and their performance. So let's get the referee stuff. 2 incidences which Igor Tudor was absolutely furious about at the end of the game. The first is, well, one of them is clear cut for me, completely clear cut, and that's the red card. So with this,
I don't understand what VAR is doing.
There's no debate on the red card. There is more of a debate on the penalty. So let's get the red card one out of the way. This is a shocking decision that this is not that this can't be a red card.
What was the VAR doing?
Well, let me describe the incident first. For those who haven't seen it, it's Orban who doesn't even have his eyes on the ball. I think Morelli actually said it at the end. In fact, I'll just read out his quote because it sums everything up. Contact between Orban and Gatti. Orban never looked at the ball. The feeling is that he was aiming for the face. Why hasn't the VAR called for review? So many unanswered questions about it. For me, it's a deliberate elbow to the face. He's looking at him, and it's clear. It's the clearest red card you'll ever see.
It has to be. I don't understand why the VAR. I mean, the referee can miss things. That's why the VAR is there. They're not supposed to miss things. They've got the help of video. I think I don't blame the referee for that. I blame the VAR for that more. Like the VAR is it the
VAR protocol again, Nima? In fact, that the referee gave a yellow card. The referee saw it, so they didn't decide. Is it any?
Well, that's still wrong because that means that it's still a materially wrong call. Like Morelli said, the VAR can intervene there. Because it's wrong. He's got it wrong. He's seen something that the images don't correspond to that reality. He saw a contact, but that's a red card. I'm sorry, an elbow to the face.
Yeah, and that was before half time. Then I'll come up to how this affected the game in a second. Let's just go through the penalty incident. So a 1-0.
That is a little bit more. I'm with you on that. It's a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, let me just say first of all, right, what happened is was it a long throw coming to the box? João Mario handballs it. Now Morelli says this is not a punishable offence. I think, I'm a Juventino, so I'll be honest. I think by the rules, not what I think the rules should be. By the rules, I think it can be a pen.
Exactly,
it can be a pen. I still think it's
if you look at, isn't it?
If you look at how it happened, the close proximity of the players, people kind of a little bit of a nudge here. He didn't see it. He did have his eyes closed, like Morelli says. I can see why you'd be unhappy that's given, but I can also see why it's given.
Same.
So that's why I don't think it's not a scandal. It's the red card's a scandal, but this is not a scandal. It can be given.
Agreed.
Having said that, though, I'm going to say what I say every single time on these penalties. I hate these penalties. I think that and I think Tudor said this at the end of the game. Anybody that's by the rules, it can be a penalty. Because the rules will say this isn't a natural movement, having your arm slightly away from your body. So, but I will say, and I agree with Tudor here in the sense that anybody that's played football and has been in a situation like this where a throw's come in and you're jostling and you're jumping for the ball and there's people around you, knows that for me that is actually quite a natural movement. That naturally will happen when you're jumping.
Think for me, the definition of what is natural and what is not natural, that needs to be better defined for me. For me, it's about the deliberate thing. There is no deliberate. It's absolutely not deliberate. He doesn't deliberate. There's no intention at all. And I do think that where the position of the arm, there is absolutely an argument to be made that it's in an unnatural position. That's fine. But for me, the intent has to be the decisive thing here. And I don't think you can argue.
But you do get penalties that are.
I know. I'm just saying that
where you have your arm up here, it's not deliberate. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly. But exactly, it's out there. And that's why I'm saying it's 50-50. But personally, for me, that situation, again, we have to look at the situation as a whole. The ball lands on his arm. He's not deliberately. Is he clumsy? All of that is true. But there's no intention. And so for me, I'd rather not give that penalty.
I agree.
But again, you can't say it's a scandal, like you said. I think my analysis is pretty much spot on with yours.
I agree with you. And my issue is a wider point, which I deliver all the time. I think I said it on an Inter one recently as well. I hate these penalties. I hate the fact that the punishment for something which is at best 50-50 and pretty maybe harsh at worst. When you've got this is a 0 XG. If you look at the incident, it's a 0 XG chance of anything coming. If he doesn't handle that ball, there's zero chance of scoring from that incident. There's a Juventus player, Locatelli, I think, right behind him. And yet it goes from a 0 XG to a 0.8 XG, to an 80% chance of scoring a penalty. I've said this before. I think penalties, as they are at the moment, are outdated. They're as outdated as the back pass rule, because there's no way that the punishment does not fit the crime with penalties. We need to start debating this. The lawmakers need to start looking at this and realize that you cannot have a 0 xg suddenly become a 0.8 xg, and even more so when the penalty is like this. It just ruined it conditions games, and it affects games, because in this game, and I'm going to come on to how embarrassing the performance was from Juventus in a second, but if this penalty is not given, but more so if the red card is given as it correctly should have been, it's a completely different game. Juventus are maybe 1-0 up, or they're drawing with 45 minutes to play against 10 men. The chances are, much higher that Juventus are going to win this game. And as a result, they've ended up dropping 2 points. So that's number one. Number two, I now want to talk about Juventus's performance, which was embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing in every way. Offensively, shocking. 0.39 xG in this game. They barely created anything. The goal came not from team play or anything designed. It was from an individual moment of brilliance from Conceição, who was the only player in this game that was good for Juventus.
And it was beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful action.
It was, yeah. Cut inside, went past two men, and this is the reason why I was so strong on Juventus keeping him. Juventus were going to get rid of him. It's only when they changed sporting director, Giuntoli went out, and then Tudor kind of really pushed to keep him, and then in the end, they decided to keep him. And I think it's lucky they did, because at the moment, the way Juventus are playing, they're relying on individual moments from a Conceição, from a Yildiz to create at the moment. So he was good in this game. He was the only Juventus player in this game that really performed. All the other attackers were awful. Vlahovic, we praised him the other night. It was horrendous in this game. He was taken off just after 10 minutes into the second half. Openda came on, was horrific. He was miscontrolling everything. He miscontrolled two chances. One when he would have been clean free, he was offside, but he miscontrolled it and the chance went. And then another one, which was the only time when Juventus opened up, I think, Verona in the second half. It would have been a big chance, but he had the heaviest touch ever. And in the end, he lost the chance because of that heavy touch. It was on the right-hand side. The ball came over. Jonathan David, I didn't even know he was playing when he came on. Completely anonymous. And Zigrova, who actually had a good cameo against Borussia Dortmund, was awful. Miscontrolled everything, gave everything away. So yeah, offensively terrible. Defensively, not good either. I mean, Verona were causing trouble on the counter-attack. Orban had 8 shots in this game. Okay, half of them came after he shouldn't have been on the pitch, but Orban actually looked really good. I think he's going to be good for Verona this season. Very, very good. Gift Orban. So there's that. And then the midfield. The midfield didn't control the game. Thuram was tired, and it just confirms what we both said at the start of the season. As soon as Thuram is either not on the pitch, he actually came off in this game, or he's just not in shape or not in form, which he is because he looked exhausted. The Juventus midfield just is just not good enough. And Locatelli came off at half time, was really bad. And Koopmeiners, and this is what I want to ask you, Nima. Yeah. He came on, was abysmal. He had a 76% pass accuracy. Koopmeiners had a 76% pass accuracy, which is just not good enough. Is it time now for us, and not just so much Juventus, but is it time for us to just accept Koopmeiners is a busted flush?
Is it another Atalanta syndrome player? Is it another Gasperini syndrome player?
Yeah. Is it time to give up on Koopmeiners, Nima?
Well, every evidence points to that, doesn't it? But this isn't Thiago Motta anymore. This is now Igor Tudor, who's much more free flowing, at least in the way that he wants to attack, and Koopmeiners just offers absolutely nothing. Look, the Juventus Inter Milan shirts are heavy shirts, as they say in Italy. And the way that Douglas Luiz was sent packing, the way that Koopmeiners has flopped, and we have to call it a flop. I don't know.
I think we're looking, Nima. I think we're looking at one of the worst Juventus signings of all time. You remember, he was 60 million euros.
Yeah.
60 million. And like you said, he's done nothing. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't create. He doesn't score.
He looks scared, Carlo. To me, when I see him now, he's not, he looks absolutely scared. And that is a problem. I think when a player ends up in a situation at one of these big clubs where he's scared, where he wants to basically just play it safe because he doesn't want to, because he has no confidence and belief, you have to get rid of him. Because
he can't even do it safe, Nima. His passing is abysmal. Some of the unforced passing areas where he's not even under pressure. 76% pass accuracy. That's just knocked way off it. If your pass accuracy, if you're a top player, your pass accuracy should be around, at the minimum, 85% to 90. If you're a top player, if you're under 80, you're just not good enough. And for a top club, and but he doesn't run. He can't run either. He's so slow. He looks like a player that's just been, all his energy has just been sucked out of him. Like he's just looks like he's got nothing. He's like he's treading on water. That's what he looks like.
Looks scared. I mean, to me, I think it's a mental thing as well. I don't think it's a qualitative decline. I think it's too early to say that. I think it's a psychological thing for him. I don't know.
I mean, you talk about Atalanta syndrome. I just think, I wonder way that, I'm not.
At this point, I'm thinking why Juve
I'm not being suggestive here, but in Atalanta, they train in a certain way to put their players in really tip-top physical condition where they when they were under Gasperini or Bangsbo and all the team, they were so like. But the intensity, Nima, look, they were so fast around the pitch, and they ran and they pressed.
And it was tactical as well.
But
a system designed to bring out the best out of.
Yeah, but you see some of these Atalanta players afterwards. I mean, Koopmeiners, how can he go from that to? I mean, I'm not saying he was the quickest player in the world at Atalanta, but he had energy, and
but he was also put in the right position, and I don't think. But
they tried that with Juventus. They tried him further forward. It's like in the kind of the trequartista, and then now they've tried to bring him back. Like this season, they've specifically tried to pull him back into the two, which is actually where he was. I think at his best at Atalanta when he was in that two. I remember like him and Ederson in the Europa League final, and they were outstanding. They completely, because I think De Roon missed the Europa League final, didn't he? I think he got injured, if I'm not mistaken. So they played Ederson and Koopmeiners, and they absolutely dominated and played off the park. An invincible Bayer Leverkusen team, players like Wirtz and Xhaka, played them off the park. And then you see Koopmeiners like now, and it's I'm not just singling him out. Like I said, everybody was awful, but I think I think we have to now, just after this performance, we have to just say.
I think maybe Juventus should maybe try to offload him to Roma on a loan with option obligation if they make the Champions League. If they can do that in January, I think that would be a solution that could help everyone.
Gasperini can take. I mean, look, I think that the other things to say about Juventus is tiredness. They look really tired in this game. Really tired. I mean, they looked even tired against Dortmund. A few of the players. I remember Bremer being off of his feet in that game, and he didn't play in this game as a result. But they looked exhausted. The second half, I mean, the first half was bad from Juventus. The second half was just unacceptable. They looked so tired. Thuram, Yildiz looked tired. He couldn't beat his man because you could see how exhausted he was. And this is why you need depth, and this is what I said. I said Juventus's first team is pretty good. I don't think it's Scudetto challenging, but I think it's definitely top four worthy. But as soon as you start having players, putting players that are not first teamers, you look at the wing backs, you look at the midfielders without Thuram, and you look at the defense with like Bremer not playing in this game. You've suddenly got a defense. Gatti was horrendous in this game, making so many mistakes. And it's not good enough. They're not good enough, and this is why you need that depth. And this is why for me, we'll talk about Milan. This is why Napoli are a cut above the rest, and then like even Inter, because they've got that depth. They've got players that can come in when there's players missing. Juventus just don't have that, and that's the reason why I said at the start of the season I don't see Juventus as a credible Scudetto winner this season. I just don't think that they've
they're
got
certainly
enough.
not playing like it, and they certainly are not giving off that kind of aura, to use a football Twitter term, which I hate, by the way. Yeah.
No, that's what I want to say. But they have Juventus this week. I think they have Atalanta actually. If I'm not mistaken, they have. I think they have Atalanta. I'll confirm that in a bit. But let's talk about Milan. Let's talk about Milan with a view ahead of this weekend when they play against Napoli, and it's going to be already an early season Scudetto battle, if we can call it that. I think you would call it that, because I have to give well, I don't want to give you all the credit yet. Let's give a bit of time. You Milan have had an easy start to the season in terms of fixtures. It's been 4 fixtures against pretty weak opponents, let's say. Although I wouldn't call Udinese a weak opponent. I actually think Udinese are a good team, and that's what makes this win really impressive. 3-0 against Udinese, but they've now won 3 in a row. They've got 9 points, and they play Napoli, who we're recording this before Napoli play against Pisa. And, we expect Napoli to win that game and go on to 12 points, so go top of the table and be 3 points ahead of Milan. But Milan will be at home against Napoli at the San Siro on Sunday in the late night kickoff, 20:45 CET. And if Milan win that game, they can then join Napoli at the top of the table. So let me ask you again, Nima, are Milan the anti-Napoli for the Scudetto race this season?
I don't think there exists an anti-Napoli in this Serie A in terms of overall over 38 games. I think this Napoli are going to run away with it. But if anyone's going to push them, I think it's Milan. I really think that. I think the fact that Allegri's managed to stabilize Milan, he's starting something new. They play once a week, so fatigue and exhaustion will not be an issue. And once they get Rafael Leao back, let's remember Rafael Leao is out. That's a huge capital to have on the bench to throw in. But I think if anyone is, I'm more inclined to Milan than to anyone else. But it's going to be a very fascinating game, because look, if nothing else, Allegri and Conte battling it out is one of my favorite things in Italian football. Like those two up against each other, and when things get heated and when they start, the way that Allegri, his sarcasm in it and his trolling, because he trolls. I don't care what anyone says. Allegri trolls people. He trolls journalists. He trolls players. He trolls other opposition coaches. He is a troll, and it's funny. And Antonio Conte can get baited and get angry, and that's very, very funny. So I'm hoping he does get baited. I don't think he will be, because he's in a very comfortable position. If they beat Pisa, he'll be really, really happy and comfortable, and everything's rosy. But going into this game, I'm really looking forward to see how both of them take on this challenge. Does Allegri start his usual sarcasm and referring back to the goal fantasma, the Montari goal? Does Conte react to that? How does Conte handle that? Are they both a bit more careful? Do they want to kind of just see off this game and not lose? And for Napoli to take a point away at the San Siro, for Milan to take a point against the reigning champions. There's so many aspects to this. I'm really, really fascinated to see how both of these managers handle the preparations going into this game. But also from a tactical point of view, it's going to be very interesting. This is a big test for Milan. How do they handle a Napoli that's going to grind them the way that Napoli grind down teams? And how are Napoli in turn going to handle Allegri counter-attacking them?
If I just come on to you on your Milan point, it is the test of Milan. This is the test to see if this early season promise is something that can actually be turned into a realistic Scudetto challenge, because the four teams they've played are lower half teams so far. So now they're finally playing against one of the big guns, or the biggest gun in Napoli. So this is where it's at. This is where we'll see it. So far, Milan, I have been impressed by Milan, even though they lost that opening game to Cremonese. As I said on the last show, I always look, even in games where your teams don't play too well, I always look at basics in football. I look at how many chances did my team create, how many chances did my team concede, and if you use that as the basis throughout the course of the season, generally it will give you a good idea of how well your team's going to do.
Agreed.
Now, in all four of the games, Milan have created more chances than the opposition and conceded far less chances. And so if Milan continue that over the course of the season, they're going to have a really good season. But we have to look at the opposition, and now they're playing against tougher teams now, starting from this Napoli game. So we'll have to see how that comes. But so far, I think I've been impressed by the midfield. I think that Modric and Rabiot, immediately, those two have really, I mean, Modric, we've already, went to town on him last week after he scored at the age of 40, but Rabiot has started really well alongside him. So you've got those two players who are obviously experienced players who are already producing, and Milan's midfield is looking good because of those two. Basically, those two keep performing the way they are. Whoever else plays alongside them in midfield is going to probably play well, because they're going to look good, just because they're those two are going to make them play well. So Fofana, who scored, didn't he? He
did.
Game.
And I have to say, if he hadn't scored, that had to have been one of the most clearest penalties I have seen. Like that attack on Pulisic just before Fofana scored. If he doesn't score, that is like one of the most stonewall penalties.
I wouldn't have guaranteed it being given Milan the penalty.
That was just insane. Nowhere near the ball, just kicked Pulisic off his feet. But Fofana scored, so that's.
I mean, so I think the midfield looks good. Obviously, Pulisic is now firing. He scored 2 goals in the win against Udinese, and the defense is looking more solid now since that Cremonese game than it should do, given the personnel. So that credit goes to Allegri, of course. So far good. But like I said, let's not get carried away. Let's see now that the tough games are coming up for Milan. Yeah. They've had their easy starts to the season. Now we see when they're really pushed by, a Napoli team who, they look right now like they're going to win the Scudetto comfortably, I think. But we'll see. We'll see what Milan can do. I mean, if you look at the odds for this game, actually that reflects how actually the bookmakers see this as really 50-50. 8-5 Milan, Napoli 21-10, and draw 7-4. So actually Milan are slight favourites over Napoli to win this game. So that's quite interesting. And then the probable 11s. I mean, the team news. Obviously, that Napoli have to play Pisa first, so we'll see what comes from that. Also, bear in mind that there will be the Champions League a few days after this game for Napoli, and we know that the Champions League is going to be important for Conte this season. And we know that obviously they lost their first game against Manchester City. Unfortunately, it was game conditioned by a red card early in the game, which just ended the game. As a contest, really annoyed me. I was really looking forward to that game.
Yeah, me too.
Pissed me off.
Me too. It annoyed me to no end. A moment of madness by Koopmeiners Di Lorenzo just basically cost Napoli the entire game. Yeah,
it did, and they started comfortably. Like City were not threatening or anything. I really wanted to see, similar to how I want to see how Milan do against Napoli. I really wanted to see where Napoli were at against the top team like Man City away. And that was robbed of us. That annoyed me as well. But so we'll have to see what happens from that. Like, will he rotate a little bit because of the Champions League?
I mean, I expect the rotation to come against Pisa more than anything.
I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And then we'll have to wait and see how it, based on that, we'll have to wait and see how.
Knowing Conte, I expect him to play pretty close to full strength team. Like we know Antonio Conte. Like he doesn't want to.
He has changed. He's not the same
He's
coach
changed,
he was
but
before.
he doesn't want to
still
lose. He doesn't
Antonio
want to
Conte,
lose to Allegri. He doesn't want to lose to Allegri.
Oh, he's not going to lose to Allegri. Like he can't handle that.
He's going to end up playing his full team. So we're probably going to
be
looking at.
He can't handle losing.
Milinkovic-Savic or Meret. Di Lorenzo will play. The left back, it could be that Spinazzola or Oliveira plays in this game. That one we don't know. And then, Rachmani could be back, so he might start. And then Buongiorno or Juan Jesus at centre-back. Then in midfield, I think he's going to play full-strength midfield. I do. I think he'll play McTominay.
I think he has to against Rabiot and Modric. I don't think
that's what I mean. Yeah, it'll be McTominay, De Bruyne, Lobotka, and Guisa. I think they'll all play. And then on the right, I think it'll probably be Politano. Then up front, I think it'll be Højlund. So I think they're going to play all of them. But we'll see after the Pisa game. There might be some injuries and some tiredness and rotation. We'll see. As for Milan, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be. Let me come to Leao in a second. It'll be the same team because Magnon's still going to be out, isn't he? So it'll be Terracciano. Then it'll be the normal back three of Tomori, Pavlovic, and Gabbia in the middle. Salamakers on the right, Estupinan on the left. It'll be Modric, Fofana, and Rabiot, and then it will be Pulisic, and then will Leao start? I
don't think so,
or not. That's the question, isn't it? Will Leao start?
I have to say, I really like.
Or will it be Jimenez?
I really like Estupinan's start to his Milan career. He's been very impressive, in my opinion. They've not missed Theo Hernandez, to put it like that. He's looked really well. He's covered for them. He's offered what Allegri wants, and he's done really well. But the question mark is, what happens? Leao, does Allegri want to throw him into the deep end? How fit is he? Will he throw him on in the second half, depending on how the game looks and so on? So I mean, it's all going to be.
Yeah, it'll be a 3-4-2-1 for Milan, and for Napoli it'll be 4-4-1-1 or 4-1-4-1.
4-1-4-1, yeah.
Yeah, however you want to put it. So I mean, I guess if not Leao, then it will be Jimenez. I think Nkunku will be on the bench again. I think they're pushing him in. That's the other thing. We're talking about the Anti-Napoli. I mean, if those two players start hitting it off, Leao and Nkunku, Leao plays as the number 9, which is kind of my prediction. After seeing him in pre-season, I think he'll end up being the 9 instead of Jimenez in a new position. If Leao hits it off in that role with Pulisic, Nkunku, if those two behind it, that's a lot of potential attacking firepower. And
Pulisic continues to just score for Milan. He's just so concrete for Milan in front of goal. He just doesn't. He just delivers. Doesn't do anything fantastic, or he doesn't do anything like highlight reel YouTube, but he just scores.
The only negative I can give for Milan right now is in terms of scoring is Jimenez. He does he missed another big chance. He's really low on confidence. That's the only negative I can give.
Agreed.
Prediction. What's your prediction? It's very early days, very early now. Early prediction for this game.
I can't get away from a 1-1 draw. Very cagey affair. Very cagey affair. I don't see any of them wanting to lose.
I think if it's a draw after 60 minutes, it's going to be a draw.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think both
it's Allegri and Conte, and
both teams will be like a nod and a wink. Let's just.
God, I love old school Italian football. Long may it live. Love it.
Yeah. Right, Torino-Atalanta. So Atalanta got absolutely destroyed by PSG in midweek, but a good recovery here. They won 3-0. They blew Torino away in that first half. Krstovic with 2 goals, thrown his hat in the ring for a regular starting spot, obviously with Scamacca being injured. And I actually think Krstovic has had a pretty good start for Atalanta, hasn't he?
I think so. I think you're right. And I think the amount of chances that they've created, now they're finally scoring them as well. I think Atalanta created quite a bit. And now the Lookman situation has been resolved, and, they're kind of all slowly coming together. I think, watch out for Atalanta. I think Juric, as I've said since the season started, I think he's going to do really good there. I think what happened at Roma and Sunderland was more down to bad advisors and bad career choices for Juric more than him not being good enough. And I think that Atalanta will continue down this path and be a thorn in the side of teams as they have been. I mean, Samaric had a good game as well. So yeah, it's Zalewski injury is not good for them, but then Belanova coming on is depth.
How serious is the Zalewski injury?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything yet. I haven't seen anything. Maybe I've missed it, but it's time of recording at 11:20 a.m. CET. I've not seen anything as to how serious it is, but Belanova is a good enough replacement in the Serie A at least. So no, I like what Atalanta have done, and I think if Krstovic can start scoring as well for them, then and if they can reintegrate Lookman, then we're talking about a completely different situation.
Yeah. Right. Lookman returning in the 87th minute then. So I guess we'll see how that plays out back on the pitch, and we'll see what happens. Suleiman a goal and assist, Samasic assist. Yeah, I mean, good game. But let's see. With Atalanta looks short against the big teams, but if they can keep beating the small teams, then they are going to be in that top four race. I think to get in the top four, if you deal with all the smaller teams and rack up your points, then and that will be the challenge for Atalanta, because I think they're off it against the big teams. I don't think they're going to be, and we saw that against PSG, and I guess we'll see who. Let me just double check now. It is Juventus Atalanta this weekend, isn't it?
I didn't check the previews.
Let's have a look. Yes, it is. Yes, it's Juventus Atalanta on Saturday. So already that's a big game for both teams. We can see how good Atalanta are, and also if Juventus because if Juventus lose that or draw that, then I think questions are going to start being asked about Juventus. Yeah. Right, rest of Serie A fixtures. So we have Lecce 1, Cagliari 2, Andrea Belotti back with a double. And Nima's written here, outsider for Capocannoniere, and I love it.
Damn right I do. Gallo mio. I love it. What was it? His 125th goal in the Serie A or something that he scored?
It's impressive, yeah.
Never played for a really big side, but he scored quite a few. I mean, and he's going to score for Atalanta, for Cagliari. He's going to start, and if they can get him, if he can stay fit and continue, and be decisive for them, then which I think he will be, then absolutely outsider for Capocannoniere, and it would be the first time in his career that he were to be that, and I think that would be absolutely beautiful.
Don't want to break your heart, Nima. He's not going to win the Capocannoniere. Okay,
said outsider.
He's not going to.
Dark horse, just to piss off a certain Serie A commentator even further. If he's still
a very dark horse. Let's just say that. Right,
but it would be absolutely beautiful for Gallo to win the Capocannoniere.
It's not going to happen, Nima. It's not going to happen.
It would be oh my God, Gallo as an winning the Capocannoniere and being called up to the Italy national squad for Italy. I'd love that.
If Andrea Belotti is Capocannoniere this season, I'll start supporting Inter. Okay. Okay.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. God. Now do you want Belotti to win it more, or do you not want him to win it? Now I've said that.
I think after last season, when I said before the season that I think Retegui was going to win the Capocannoniere, and Patrick Kendrick tweeted there's a bigger chance that he himself would become the Capocannoniere. So I would love for that. I would have two scouts if it were on the Capocannoniere altar.
Another little barb at Patrick. You're really going after Patrick today, aren't you?
No, I'm not. He did say that, and it was hilarious. And if I have another scalp on the altar of the Capocannoniere, with you saying you're going to start supporting Inter if Gallo wins the Capocannoniere,
I think you're better off putting a bet on it. I mean, I don't know what the odds you'll get on Belotti winning the Capocannoniere.
You know what? I'm going to look into that. Yeah,
it'll be 100 to 1 at least.
Yeah, put a tenner, cheeky tenner on it.
50 to 1, maybe.
Tenner on it.
Yeah. Okay, right. Bologna 2, Genoa 1. Orsolini with another controversial penalty, 90th minute or injury time for Bologna. Yeah, late little turnaround for them against Genoa are a really nasty team to play. Patrick Vieira's made them into a bit like Torino under Juric, just like horrible team to play against. But they got the win. Cremonese 0, Parma 0. Same old story for Parma again. They created chances again in this game, and they couldn't put them away. I said it at the start. Where are the goals going to come from for Parma?
But it's not just that. I mean, if you look at the chances, what exactly were the brilliant chances? They create half chances and nothing really like exciting. I was watching this game, obviously, and it was not very. I was just impressed by how easily Cremonese defended. I don't think Parma made life difficult for them. And so
Cremonese is still unbeaten this season in Serie A, and
I hope they win the
they
Serie
have
A.
got they are
Miracle.
I mean, Bascarotto so far this season, like the way he's marshalling that defense and the leadership, and for a Cremonese team who you probably would have expected to concede, and they've kept another clean sheet. And in the last two games, they've had a combined XG of 0.34, which is hilarious because Verona really were attacking them as well. And then this game, fair play to them.
I mean, God, I just hope Cremonese win the Serie A, man. Like, it will be brilliant.
Cremonese win the Serie A and Belotti
Gallo wins the Cup. Oh my God.
Right, the final game is Fiorentina 1, Como 2.
Nico Paz FC 2.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, Nico Paz, 2 assists on the week where he scored an absolutely ridiculous goal against Genoa at the start of the week. And so good start and a great end to the week for Paz. And I also want to give a shout out to the lad that scored the winner for Como, whose name has completely escaped me. Jadon Adai, really exciting player, really exciting. Watch out for this guy this season. He's a real live wire, a real dribbler, twists in and out, scored a great goal. I think he's going to be an exciting player for Como, especially off the bench as a player like later on in the game. Watch out for him. And Como win. They should have beaten Genoa as well. Genoa equalised deep into injury time. Otherwise, Como would have 9 points now. So I'll just repeat what I said. And I really like the togetherness of the Como team. Did you see them at the end of the game with Fabregas huddling all the players around on the pitch, and he gave them a really inspiring speech of, we keep playing like this. You just see what is possible this season. So I'm going to say it again. I think watch out for Como this season. I think Europe, I'm actually quite confident that they can get a European place, but I would not rule them out as a dark horse, or even more of a dark horse for top four. I think that there's potentially they can fight. But on the other hand, Fiorentina, difficult start to the season, isn't it, for Pioli in Serie A?
Very difficult start, and unlike Maurizio Sarri, there are no excuses. He's actually gotten a mercato that that he there's not even that you can say. This isn't, are we talking about this reheated minestrone thing? Was it a mistake for him to go back to Fiorentina? Was it a mistake by Fiorentina to appoint him? Those are things that are being discussed now, and I think he's in trouble. I really think he's in trouble. He needs to watch out, because I think he could be a casualty soon if he doesn't start winning. He said himself that, they're doing good work during the week and he's happy with how they're playing and this, that, and the other, but, you have to deliver results.
Yeah, I think
Uncle Rocco's patience is not known to be very, 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 very long.
Yeah, I think that
very durable.
They've been a little bit unfortunate in that their first two games were both away from home. And away from home in Serie A, there's always the possibility of a draw away from home for a team of the level of Fiorentina. And they drew with Cagliari 1-1. And it was an equaliser in like the 94th, 95th minute for Cagliari. Then they drew 0-0 at Torino in their second game, in which they They were the better team. They had double the XG in that game of Torino. And, away to Torino, it can happen that you can draw those two games. I don't think that's a disgrace. But then they play Napoli and they play Como. And again, those are two really difficult games. So I think
they got hammered by Napoli.
They got hammered by Napoli, and then in this Como game, they concede a goal deep into injury time again. So yeah, I would say there's been a little bit of circumstance, a little bit of misfortune in the way the fixture list and the games and when the goals have come. But then again, I watched them against Policia Zaitomir in the Conference League, a team that I'd never even heard of. And if you say you'd heard of them before, you're lying.
Of course I haven't.
Yeah,
are you insane? It sounds like a medical condition.
Yeah,
like in Latin.
That's what I said. The Conference League is full of these teams where, honestly, you wonder whether they're made up. Half of these teams in this Conference League, you like, honestly, they're furniture stores, medical conditions. like what the hell are they? And,
sounds like some sort of autoimmune illness. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like if not a medical condition, it sounds like a pharmaceutical company, like Zaitomir. Zaitomir.
Yes.
Anyway. Yeah, so listen, they got Pisa next, so I think they definitely have to win that. If they don't win that, then yes, I think you could be right. I think the pressure will be on them. Yeah. Right. Midweek fixtures, just quickly. It's Coppa Italia midweek. Cagliari Frosinone, which Nima will be watching. Udinese Palermo, Pippo Inzaghi. Milan Lecce, so Milan in the action on Tuesday. Parma Spezia, Hellas Verona, Venezia, Como Sassuolo, all on Wednesday, and then Genoa, Empoli, Torino, Pisa on Thursday. And then Europa League match day 1, both Roma and Bologna in action. Nice, Roma on Wednesday, and Aston Villa, Bologna on Thursday, which should be an interesting game. That. Right, let's finish off with Baggio, Premface, and Serie ASS of the week. So Baggio, Skorupski save, was that? Did you put that in or did I put that in?
I put that in. Did you see his save? It was crazy.
That was against...
The win against Genoa.
Yes, I did. I did see that. Yes. Yeah.
It was stunning.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's 2-0 Genoa. Yeah.
Yeah. It was an unbelievable save.
Yeah, there's been some great saves so far this season. Carnesecchi in the Champions League against PSG, even though he let in the third one from Nuno Mendes, which you say, he made 3 just ridiculous saves in the first 10 minutes of that game. And one of them where he literally plucked it from behind the goal, was unbelievable. Carnesecchi has to be Italy's number 2. It's actually ridiculous. He's like Vicario and Meret getting ahead of him. But anyway, what's this EAFC one?
It's the Baggio of the week. Zlatan, EAFC will now allow you to play with Zlatan FC, a team of 11 players and bench made up entirely of Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Okay. Well, I hate EAFC, so...
Yeah, I don't care. I just think that is absolutely hilarious. It made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And my final Baggio of the week is Eric Cantona, Walter Zenga, and Roberto Mancini. That's all I'm going to say. If you know, you know. Right, Premface of the week. I'm going to go for the Liverpool fan who insulted Diego Simeone. Now, he's a Premface, not because he's insulted him, that kind of stuff can happen in games. It's the way that he insulted him. Now, the most Premface gesture, yes, the most
I don't know how many times I have watched
if you're watching this on YouTube,
and over and over again. I can't stop laughing. And the look on his face too when he does it, it's comedy.
Well, let me just explain this. Cinema. Let me explain this to someone who's lived in England all his life. The most Premface sign, hand signal in England is the wanker sign. If you've ever seen it, Nima, if anybody that's watching this, Nima is just doing it ferociously on screen in front of everyone,
it's
right?
So funny.
I won't do it. Yeah, so Nima's just showing you what the wanker sign is if you've never seen it. It is just the most Premface thing ever. It's just the kind of thing you get from the kind of like, just uncultured, uneducated like
it's
people.
so funny.
Like, it's just
The look on his face when he does
it's just
it
the kind of thing
too.
hooligans do. It's just disgusting. I feel whenever I see people do the wanker sign, I feel like just puking. I do. It's just fucking disgusting. Honestly, I just look at it and just think, what the? I mean, like, just fucking look at the state of you. And that's what I thought. I mean, this guy then did a video after the match, basically crying that Simeone had hung him out to dry because after the game, I think
he was asked about had he made a racist comment or something like that.
They asked, did the fan make racist comments to you? Did he did he mention the Falklands War? I love how and anyway he goes, I wasn't racist to him. I didn't mention the war. Which is another thing Premfaces do. They always mention the war. So I found that funny. And he was having a go at him, saying he hung him out to dry because Simeone didn't respond to that. And I just think to myself, Simeone doesn't owe you anything. You've been there, like insulting him, swearing at him, doing the wanker sign at him the entire game, right? There he goes again. Someone needs to clip this up into like a montage of never doing this. The
look on his face too, like it's so funny.
Anyway, it was discovered afterwards that this same fan was banned for 3 years in 2015 for abusing a disabled woman during the Steven Gerrard farewell match. So yeah.
Who does that in a like?
Yeah. Who abuses a disabled woman? I mean,
it's like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, what is wrong with you? And then he says it wasn't his fault. Right. Serie ASS of the week. Nima has Massimo Ferrero.
Yeah, well, no, I got the whole situation at Ternana. So former Sampdoria owner Massimo Ferrero has turned up at Ternana Calcio. He's going to be assisting the club's new president, Claudia Rizzo. She's 23. Her dad her dad just bought the club, and he owns a clinic in Rome. And Ternana are set for a new stadium. It will become the first, according to reports, the first stadium health clinic in Italy. The mayor of the city is Stefano Bandecchi. He was Ternana owner until 2023. When buying the club, Rizzo acquired all the stadium construction rights and all the land on which it will be built. The stadium is going to be built by a consortium of the club, where Rizzo and made up of Rizzo and the De Alessandro brothers, who just sold the club. The construction contract was awarded by the council, which is Bandecchi, the mayor, and the company Unicusano is own the land which the stadium clinic will be built on. Unicusano is a remote teaching university owned by Bandecchi, the mayor. They bought the land while owning Ternana. Bandecchi said the rights to the new clinic will also be awarded to Ternana's new owners. It's just such a shit show. And
how is this allowed?
I mean, it's just insane. And meanwhile, there's if I'm not mistaken, there's an ongoing tax fraud investigation against Unicusano, the Bandecchi's company. They've had their assets frozen last year, millions of euros of assets frozen. I haven't found if they've been unfrozen. It's just an absolute mess. Absolute mess. It's the most Serie ASS thing ever. And not Serie A, but Italian football mess, all of it. And of course, Ferrero being there is just it's the Ciliegina sulla torta. It's just absolute mess, absolute craziness.
It's mad, isn't it? And everybody awarding themselves contracts to benefit from it.
Well, do you know what I mean? It's like a bunch of wolves. Just
it's mad, isn't it? I mean, listen, this thing goes on a lot, not just in Italy and not just in football or in sport. This goes on, in business all round. Contracts getting awarded, politicians benefiting, and all this kind of stuff. And it's just the world. But this is pretty special.
And the fact that his 23-year-old daughter is now the president of the club without any. The whole thing is just bizarre.
And that's for publicity, isn't it? Because she's an attractive young girl, and everybody's talking about it, and yeah.
We'll see what happens if Ternana, if this doesn't cause another shitstorm with point deductions and more chaos in the Serie A.
Well, if what you've just read out is all out in the open, then I mean, but then it's Italy, so who knows?
Good luck.
Good luck. Okay. Anything else, Nima?
No, that's. I think that's a Serie ASS. That's a Serie ASS that can continue. And I want to give a shout out to Chiacchierata Calcistica, who made a viral tweet thread on this, where I first got the information from, and then I went and read on Rai and other places. Il Messaggero reporting on this as well. And I just want to, speaking on that, I want to make a correction. Last week's Serie ASS regarding the Serie A and what happened in India and Afghanistan and all these places. It wasn't because of the VPN that people were watching that they did. It was a technical error. And that's why they deleted all the streams. So it wasn't because people were using VPNs to watch the games. So I just wanted to clear the record on that. So
I don't know if that's any better or worse than him.
I don't know. I've got nothing to say. We made a mistake, so I just want to correct the record. But comment.
Well,
no comment.
Were there any games? Were they showing the games this weekend?
I have no idea.
Or the technical errors still they still hadn't corrected the technical errors in order to show the games on YouTube this weekend.
Yeah, no idea.
Please answer those of you Indian listeners.
Yeah, India, Afghanistan,
India. We say India. We always focus on India because
it's the biggest country,
and because of what happened last season with the Galaxy XR shambles. Yeah.
Like, it's over a billion people, so it's the biggest country.
Could you guys watch the games free on YouTube this weekend? Please let us know. We'd like to know.
Indeed, let us know.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's leave it at that, and we'll be back later in the week for Thursday Q&A.
Indeed.
Then we're next on because there's no midweek games this week.
So make sure to send it for patrons only and YouTube memberships. Make sure to send in your questions by Wednesday. And we'll answer them on Thursday morning when we record.
Indeed. Right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for listening, for watching. We'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.